What truly separates the divine from the human? Is it the body, the ticking clock of time? No. It's something deeper, something more elusive. It's forgetfulness, the silent amnesia that makes us forget we are gods, that our souls are as ancient as the stars themselves. Across countless spiritual paths, many have tried to remind us of our celestial origin, yet none delve as profoundly, as dangerously, as Hermeticism. In a world obsessed with speed, surface, and distraction, most seek quick relief, an escape from pain or discomfort. But the true Hermeticist doesn't chase after easy answers or quick fixes. They seek the key, the one secret that unlocks the final threshold. And that key isn't hidden in books, gurus, or doctrines. It's buried deep within the core of your being, veiled behind layers of mystery and 7 sacred veils. Finding it isn't a matter of going outward, it's a plunge inward, a journey that never truly ends. This isn't a manual filled with instructions, it's a map, an invitation for those daring enough to explore the inner sanctum, for those willing to navigate the chaos of city streets, the digital overload of modern life, and the noise of the sleeping masses. This map offers a way back to the silence that holds all truth. And here's the paradox. Silence, to most minds conditioned by noise, is unbearable. It's a void that feels threatening because, in silence, we confront ourselves, stripped of masks, illusions, defenses. We panic because silence reveals everything we hide. Yet silence is not emptiness, it's fertile ground. It's the living space where true insight is born. In Hermetic traditions, silence isn't just a virtue, it's a craft, a technology for the soul. It's a language of listening on the deepest level. Ancient Egyptian temples understood this. Their first portals into the divine weren't spoken words, but the absence of noise, the stillness, darkness, and silence that prepared the initiate for communion with the invisible world. This silence, which modern minds might see as punishment, was actually the gateway, an opening to the unseen. As the Book of the Dead teaches, the silence of the heart is where the gods dwell. Hermes Trismegistus, the master of masters, saw silence as the womb of the Logos, the creative principle behind all words. Before anything is spoken, it must be heard inwardly. Only in silence can true listening happen. Today, science is beginning to echo this ancient truth. Research from the University of Helsinki shows that just 2 minutes of complete silence can activate parts of the brain responsible for emotion and sensory processing more than hours of music. Silence has a profound power to reset, reorganize, and deepen our inner landscape. But the Hermetic seeker isn't satisfied with surface silence. They yearn for something greater, silence of the mind, and ultimately, silence of the self, the silence where the ego dissolves and the true being surrenders. That moment when there's no longer an I trying to understand or control. It's the silence that opens the gateway to the all, a space where the boundaries of separation fade away. The Hermetic texts declare, "Cease speaking if you wish to hear the divine word." This isn't poetic fancy, it's a direct instruction. Higher wisdom, intuition, the voice of the divine. These can only be heard when the mind is still. Filled with noise, it's deaf to the subtle whisperings of the soul. To live hermetically in these times means intentionally carving out spaces of silence, not as escape, but as sacred union. Not passively, but actively invoking the presence of reality. Silence becomes a laboratory, a sacred chamber where consciousness is refined. In stillness, the alchemist begins the process of distilling the ego's dense vapors until only pure essence remains, clear, formless, limitless. Meditation in the Hermetic tradition isn't about concentration, but focused attention, an act of listening beyond the noise, beyond the mental chatter, As Plotinus, a wise heir of Hermetic lineage, said, "The mind must become blind to see with the eyes of the soul." In this silence, no words are needed, no rituals are required, no external symbols. The space itself becomes the ritual, an inner sanctuary where transformation occurs. The Hermeticist cultivates this silence daily, like a priest tending an altar. He awakens before dawn, not to grind for productivity, but to listen. He walks quietly, eats consciously, contemplates deeply, because he understands that silence is the true mirror, where the soul reflects itself without distortion. And little by little, silence shifts from being a fleeting moment into a state of being, an ongoing presence. The body moves, the voice speaks, tasks are completed, but within remains a still, unshakable core, a sanctuary amid the storm of life. This is the foundation. Without silence, all spiritual pursuits are just noise disguised as progress. With silence, the simplest acts, drinking water, gazing at the sky, washing dishes, turn sacred. Silence isn't opposed to the word. It's its cradle. It's where memory, insight, and revelation are born. Long before the body was seen as a mere machine, it was regarded as a temple, a mirror of the cosmos and your soul. The Hermetic path recognizes this truth. The body is neither obstacle nor object, but a portal, a living laboratory for transformation. Hermetic teachings affirm that the body contains the divine principles of the universe: earth, water, fire, air, each reflecting the greater whole. The body is a sacred vessel, a microcosm of creation. To honor this, the Hermeticist reconsecrates the body daily, feeding it as if it were divine, breathing into it as if invoking spirits, moving with mindful intent. Because every gesture, every breath, every moment of care is an act of alchemy, transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. Alchemy teaches that transformation requires a vessel, sealed and pure, where elements are distilled, purified, and rejoined. The body is that vessel. If it's fragmented, distracted, intoxicated, no true transmutation can happen. Paracelsus, the great alchemist, said, "The body is the laboratory of the spirit, and the blood is its mercury, carrying memories, emotions, visions. Breath is the fire that fuels the internal crucible, and food is the raw material of transformation. Sleep, that's the dissolution stage. Nothing is insignificant. Everything is ritual." Modern science, in its own way, confirms this ancient wisdom. Epigenetics reveals that our environment, our emotions, our thoughts, these influence gene expression. The body is malleable, shaped not just by matter, but by consciousness. Fields of energy, cellular frequencies, biophoton emissions, all of these are part of the sacred dance. But the Hermeticist doesn't need a lab to know this. He feels it, listens to his body's whispers. He honors it as a sacred instrument. Living hermetically in modern life is about slowing down, making every act a sacred act. Chewing, bathing, walking, these are opportunities for communion. Making room for rest and stillness, seeing every moment as a chance to tune into the divine presence within. It's not about obsessing over health or aesthetic perfection. It's about preparing the vessel so the divine fire can circulate freely. Because when that fire stirs, an unready vessel can crack. Many who chase the mystical burnout, not because the path is dangerous, but because their bodies aren't purified enough to carry the flame. Breath becomes the bridge, an alchemical tool to align, balance, and open the channels. Deep, conscious breathing, long, slow, silent, awakens the subtle currents of prana, pneuma, ruach, the breath of life that connects us all. Ancient Hermetic rites knew this. Breath was the first act of invocation. It creates the field where transformation begins. The body then becomes a sacred workshop, earth grounding, water flowing, fire igniting, air connecting, all working together in harmony. Ether, the silent force, sustains the unity behind all manifest forms. By viewing the body as a temple, we see that everything we put into it, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, is an offering. What we feel, what we do, becomes a lesson. Every act is a ritual, an opportunity to align with the divine. There's no separation between spirit and flesh, no transcendence without conscious incarnation. Hermes Trismegistus reminds us, all is one, that one reveals itself first in this body, our temporary vessel, our sacred temple. When purified and honored, this vessel can hold the divine and reflect it back into the world. It's through this sacred act that the Hermeticist walks among men, embodying the divine in every step. If the body is the temple, then the mind is the altar, where the flame of spirit is either kindled or snuffed out. Like any altar, it can be a place of sacred consecration or profanation. Everything depends on what you place upon it. The mind isn't your enemy, nor is it your natural ally. It's a neutral force, and that neutrality makes it dangerous. The law of mentalism states, the all is mind, the universe is mental. Understanding this isn't an intellectual game, it's a call to responsibility. Your reality is a mirror of your inner landscape. If your mind is clouded with noise, inherited beliefs, unresolved fears, and unexamined desires, how can you see clearly? The house of your mind is cluttered, and the owner has forgotten his authority. To live hermetically is to reclaim sovereignty. To look at your thoughts with the eyes of an initiatic gardener, carefully, dispassionately, removing the weeds without judgment, but with discernment. Silence again becomes the soil, reflection, the pruning. The mind is both a mirror and a sword. It can reflect truth or cut through illusions. It can delineate boundaries or imprison you in false beliefs. A skilled hermeticist wields the sword with precision, piercing veils of illusion, one after the other, without haste, with clarity. Only those willing to confront their illusions about themselves, the world, the divine, can see the reality behind the masks. Plato, the greatest of Hermetic thinkers, taught that the soul's task is remembrance. All true knowledge is remembering what we already know deep within. The mind must be disciplined, not to accumulate more data, but to clear away the debris that blocks our inner vision. The Hermetic mind isn't a library of facts, it's a state of clarity. When purified by silence and guided by intuition, reason becomes a tool of revelation. Hermes, the master, never divided the rational from the spiritual, he integrated them. But reason must serve, never rule. And beneath all this lies the profound understanding of the unconscious. Jung reminds us that enlightenment doesn't come from chasing illusions of light, but from bringing darkness into awareness. The shadow isn't the enemy, it's the treasure trove. The gold of consciousness is hidden in the depths of the unconscious. Every thought, every feeling is a reagent, producing expansion or contraction, clarity or confusion, love or fear. The Hermeticist observes, contemplates, and turns these internal currents into symbols and insights, using archetypes, dreams, journaling, active imagination, tools for inner alchemy. The mind, like a crystal, can focus or scatter light, but beyond the mind is the portal, the gateway to higher dimensions of perception. When purified, silenced, aligned with the heart, it reveals truths beyond words, truths that are lived, felt, directly known. This is gnosis, an intuitive knowing that bypasses the intellect altogether. In this space, the mind becomes the vessel of the higher will, a pure instrument of divine intention. It no longer serves the ego or fleeting desires, but becomes a mirror of the divine, reflecting the eternal. When that happens, the mind ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a field of creation, a sacred mirror that reflects the divine clearly, a sword that defends truth with unwavering resolve. The modern hermeticist doesn't reject the mind, he refines it. He sharpens the blade, aligns the focus, and when the moment is right, he leaves it behind, using it as a tool, not a prison. The fire that fuels all this work is will, the living flame of purpose and intent. Will isn't desire, it's the spark that ignites transformation. It's the sacred fire that doesn't bow to doubt or chaos. Once lit, it seeks only one thing: to do the work, the great work, the work that brings your unique purpose into manifestation. It's not a matter of choice, it's a calling, a divine mandate encoded in your very being. When aligned, your will moves the heavens and the earth. It's the point where microcosm and macrocosm collide, a divine spark infiltrating matter. But this fire isn't born perfect. It's forged in the crucible of discipline, mixed with fears, ambitions, noise, and distraction. That's why purification is essential. Fire that burns away hesitation, ego, and illusion, leaving only pure intention. The Corpus Hermeticum teaches, you shall not attain the divine unless your will is whole and undivided. And the Hermeticist understands, every choice is a step toward mastery. In a world that pulls your attention in 1,000 directions, holding your will steady is an act of magic, an act of inner alchemy. The modern world promotes fragmentation, productivity without purpose, opinion without silence, movement without direction. But the Hermeticist dances against the current. He listens to his inner voice, acting with deliberate intention. His silence is the foundation of his power, a space where the divine voice can speak freely. Sometimes that voice comes as discomfort, an inner dissonance, a persistent feeling that something is out of alignment. But once embraced, it becomes a guide, an inner certainty that transcends circumstances. This path isn't easy, it isn't the fastest, but it is the only true way. A journey back to your core. Aleister Crowley, misunderstood yet deeply hermetic, declared, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, not as whimsy, but as a reminder. True will springs from the depths of the soul, unshakable, unbending, free of fear and influence. To discover that will is to remember who you truly are. Before names, before stories, before identities, it's to touch the divine force that pulses within, silently urging you to be. And how does that will show up in your daily life? Through your actions. The Hermetic path transforms life into a continuous act of alchemical work. Every moment, every encounter, every challenge is raw material for your evolution. Nothing is wasted. Everything is a step closer to mastery. Whether it's a painful failure or a moment of ecstasy, each experience serves the process. Every day, he shapes reality, like a craftsman in a secret laboratory, guided not by obsession, but by reverence. His work may be quiet, unseen, but its effects ripple outward, altering atmospheres, shifting fields, awakening hidden potentials. His coherence, his intention, his focus, these are the true magic. And in the smallest acts, listening, observing, choosing, the Hermeticist embodies his truth. Because true power isn't in grand gestures alone, it's in the quiet consistency of living aligned with the divine. His words, his actions, his presence, all become sacred symbols of transformation. And science echoes this truth. The HeartMath Institute has shown that coherent intent and focused emotion influence not just our bodies, but the electromagnetic field surrounding us. Our thoughts and feelings shape reality. They create the invisible blueprint that guides matter itself. When thought, feeling, word, and deed move in harmony, we align with the divine orchestration of creation. This is the secret. When will is purified, it becomes an offering, an act of service, a sacred flame that fuels the great work. No longer seeking to dominate or conquer, the Hermeticist becomes a channel, allowing divine intention to flow through him. His life turns into a masterpiece of purpose, an ongoing alchemical process from lead into gold, from ordinary to divine. The true Hermeticist isn't someone who hoards secrets. It's someone who dedicates their life to one purpose, embodying truth, living purposefully, and serving the divine will. Will is his sword, his torch, his sacred fire. He walks with simplicity, but within him burns the eternal flame of transformation. He doesn't reject matter, he elevates it. He doesn't escape the world, he transfigures it. Because, in the end, the greatest secret is this: the divine doesn't dwell apart from us. It's here, embedded in our flesh, in our breath, in every act of consciousness. The path isn't about leaving life behind, it's about transforming it, making every moment a sacred act of alchemy. That's the true work of the Hermetic, and that's the journey you're called to walk. If this journey resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to this channel so you never miss a step on the path of inner transformation. Together, we can explore the mysteries that lie within and unlock the divine potential we all carry. And if you found value in this message, drop a comment below with your favorite Hermetic principle or a word that inspires your own journey. Let's create a sacred space of shared wisdom and intention. Thank you for watching, and remember, your transformation begins with a single step. Stay mindful, stay curious, and keep seeking the truth. Until next time.